Look at the federal workforce over the last 60 years. It is a remarkably stable line until the 2025 mark. Over a single stretch, the total number drops as 250,000 positions simply vanish. This wasn't a wave of traditional layoffs. It was a mass departure driven by voluntary buyouts, early retirements, and deferred resignations. Employees signed documents dictating exactly when they would leave. These were the people holding the infrastructure together. Elite problem solvers who untangled regulatory knots, briefed leadership, and kept complex systems standing through sheer competence year after year. While the government hit its downsizing targets, it triggered an unmeasured exodus of institutional knowledge. Thousands of experts walked out the door with no plan in place to capture what they knew. The next morning, the reality of that transition sets in. The security badge is deactivated. The title is gone.
And the calendar that used to dictate every waking hour is suddenly completely empty. For many of these highly capable professionals, this is the moment they freeze. Genuinely brilliant people find themselves unable to articulate what they do next. The paralysis is a byproduct of the system. For decades, the bureaucracy provided a shorthand for identity, a GS grade, a job series, or an agency seal. The talent didn't leave with the job. However, over time, the person's skills and the government job title became fused into a single entity. When the institutional shorthand is stripped away, these high performers lose their voice. They were never taught to describe their value without using the government's vocabulary. Carmen S. Artis spent more than a decade in public service before she left through a voluntary buyout. Today, she navigates life beyond the badge while acting as a caregiver for her mother and daughter. She holds an MBA and coaching certifications, but her real credibility comes from her current perspective. She is standing in the middle of this transition in real time, figuring out the day-to-day alongside her clients. Most career services for transitioning workers focus on the surface. They rush to polish the resume, optimize the LinkedIn headline, or drill interview answers. Fixing the resume first just treats the symptom. It's the equivalent of rearranging furniture in a house where the foundation hasn't been poured yet. Before any tactical moves can begin, Carmen asks a harder question. Who are you without the badge? This requires diagnosing the identity gap, the distance between who the government said you were and who you actually are. Curing the paralysis caused by a buyout requires a clean break. You have to separate your self-worth from your former institutional role. True reinvention stays out of reach until this internal crisis is resolved. The foundation must be secured before the external career pivot can hold. Carmen gives a name to the expertise built inside public service, Government Proprietary Genius, or GPG. GPG consists of transferable skills, advanced pattern recognition, complex systems thinking, and the ability to move between worlds. These capabilities rarely appear on standard federal resumes. Inside the system, you just have a job title. There's no need to name the underlying genius. This is the exact asset the private sector and consulting firms struggle to find. They need these skills, but they don't know how to ask for them by name. The transition becomes possible when GPG is mapped to 3 professional archetypes that the private sector already understands. The translator navigates technical, political, and public communication. They ensure complex goals make sense to 3 different audiences simultaneously. The architect builds and stabilizes systems. They see how moving parts fit together into a structure, even when others only see chaos. The guardian protects the mission. They ensure compliance and hold the line under pressure, even when the environment encourages cutting corners. When a former federal lead presents themselves as an architect, a hiring manager understands how that person can scale a new department. The opaque bureaucratic history becomes a clear solution to a private sector problem. Government restructuring operates in cycles. Agency consolidations and workforce contractions will continue to happen, creating new waves of people standing where Carmen once stood. The buyout removes the temporary institutional scaffolding. It reveals the expertise that was supporting the system all along. The years of service built a stone foundation. Now it supports whatever comes next.